In this video, we'll be looking at how we can use Google Forms to have students choose their own adventure, their learning and assessment to promote further engagement in which students are truly finding meaning in what they're learning and charting their own path. So let's hop on in. All right, so now it's time to see what we can do by creating a form that has multiple ways to get to different learning, different adventures, or different assessments for different students. So the reason why I want to do this is, of course, to create the highest level of student engagement. When we talk about engagement, we really want to make sure that we're hitting these three drivers of engagement. One, that it's meaningful to the students so they can find their own meaning in it and find their own path. And even if it's not something that they may be particularly fond of learning, they can at least know that it's doing it in a way that's meaningful to them. They have the psychological safety that it's not a high stakes test. They can show multiple ways of what they learned and how they've gotten there, as well as then they'll have the availability to be open and to feel welcome in the class and so forth. So the main thing we want to do, though, is first, before we even get into creating our form with multiple sections and multiple ways to get to different sections, is to map it out. And this can be very important to make sure that we title and plan out each section, how many drop downs we're going to have, how many different ways they can get to different things, what the end result is for each one. So you may have multiple ways to get in there, and then one path may lead to the end of one where they show what they've learned, where you can have multiple paths. So it's important to kind of map this out. So once you go in, you create each section individually, that you can definitely get there. So now it's time to create. So we're going to take a look at one that I've created for a video class in terms of doing documentaries, and at the end of a documentary unit, and then we can see how we can make multiple sections and paths. So let's have a look. Okay, as we can see here, we had one I did in the past where students had a choice of either creating their own mini documentary or just planning a very detailed one out so they could make the video, or they could do a written plan to show me everything they would do. So just started with one section here, and we'll see next how we can do these. But I had this different section. So I had 2, which then led to 3, and then 4 was the other choice where they had an opportunity to either upload their mini documentary, list all their group members, and then submit it that way. So obviously when I go back up here, if they chose this one, they would go down to that section 4, or if they were doing just the written plan, they would do section 2. So let's see how this would look with the new form. So I'm just going to go to my new form here. I'm going to start our first section. Going to give the students a couple different options. Let's say 3. We're going to go here. We're going to add, let's say, 3 sections. Okay, so remember, these are now, the first one is the one you're doing. So I'm going to change this now to first a drop-down menu. And then with these 3 dots here, I click here and I say go to section based on answer. So then this option, I can say they're going to go to section 2. If they want to do this one, it's section 3. If they want to do this one, it's section 4. And of course, at any of these, we can do the same. So we can then, if they have a couple of answers that they have to do, then at the end you give them a choice. We can add in another drop down. We can make this go to section based on answer. Maybe here then they have 2 options. Could be where they loop back up to have to go to another one, or you could have a completely different form that they have, or their option could be also they're totally done, they're going to submit the form. So for instance, maybe I can create another section and 2 more sections, let's say. So after they're done section 3, maybe they still need to then go on to do, because maybe there's a little bit more to do in that section. So we can have them go to section 5. If they're all done, right, they have a chance to submit the form. So that's how we can create multiple sections, how we can create a drop-down menu for students to take the choices and to make sure that they're able to go to a section based on the answer. So that's it. That's how we make a student choice form in which they can choose their own adventure, choose their own learning, or even choose their own assessment. Thanks for watching. be sure to come back and subscribe and like our videos, and we'll see you soon.